all of a sudden they go, oh, well, we don't need the Lord no more. We're over here. We're doing what we need to do. And we really don't need the Lord. Then the Lord goes, You go in and read in Judges, man, the Lord really rebuked those Israelites in Judges several times because they wanted to go their own way after he had done so much for them. And boy, don't that sound familiar, doesn't it? So if you'll turn to Judges chapter 13, we're going to do some reading. And I'm going to give you what I have for today. Verse 1. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of Philistines 40 years. Now here they are. This is in 13. This is the last judge. It's going to be Samson. I've talked about Samson. And the definition of Samson, if you look up his name, means sun. S-U-N. I guess because he shone bright. But I kind of think there's another reason why they called him sun. But we'll get into that. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not. Now, when I read that, and anytime you see barren for a Jewish woman, that's kind of significant in the Bible. And the reason why is because if you are barren for a man and woman, it kind of looks like you're not blessed by the Lord. That's the way they looked at it. And have you ever really thought, and I actually took a world geography class, you go to these third world countries and they all have big families, and you go, how can they have big families? And I asked that question, and my professor says, you look it up. Why do they have big families? Well, it's because they're gathering. The more people they have in the family, the more they can gather, the more they can do, the more they can work crops, the more that they can get done. You know, two people in a household working together sometimes don't get that much done. But if you got your family working together and you're all in unison, you can get a lot done. And I think that's one of our downfalls in our society today is we don't rely on our families as much as we used to. People used to work farms together, and they grew closer together, and they helped each other, and they worked so hard to gain and make a living. So this young lady here, which is Manoah's wife, was barren. And I'm sure it hurt her because she was barren. She probably didn't understand why she was barren. And so did Manoah. And we'll continue on. In Genesis 1:28, I'll read that. This is what it talks about. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living creature that moveth upon the earth. That's what God said. So this was really, really one of the things that's etched into the Jewish society is children. It really is. Okay? Now I'll go back. So here they are. They're out in the world. They're trying to have children, and these people are working for the Lord. They're trying to live right for the Lord. And sometimes, you know, when you're working for the Lord and you're trying to live right for the Lord, things don't go your way. But God has a plan. He has a plan for us. He has a plan for Manoah and his wife. He has a plan for Samson. He has a plan for me. And a lot of times we don't understand those plans. But if we have patience and time, God will show those plans to us. He'll take care of us. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, behold now, thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine, nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. Now this angel of the Lord, of course, if you look up angel in the Bible, as it is here, it means messenger. So here's a messenger from God who came down to this lady to talk to her and says, you're going to conceive. you're going to conceive somebody. You're going to conceive a son, and you're not going to eat any unclean thing. So he right now is separating this woman and her husband and eventually their son for the service of God. He's separating them out. Now, if Ramona come up to me, and we'll cover this here a little bit, and she says, hey, I talked to a man, and he says that we're not going to eat any meat, or we ain't going to eat nothing off the vine, or this, that, and the other, and we're going to separate our sons out, I know I'm going to look at Ramona and go, man, you've been in the vanilla extract too much. What's wrong with you? Because we don't understand that. God didn't visit me. And this word came from this angel. But I have God's word to look things up, to see what I need to do. So we'll continue on with this. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore verse 4. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine or strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for thou shalt be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. Now, we just talked about in verse 1 that they was in bondage to the Philistines for 40 years. God sending another judge to deliver them, and it's through this couple. And he's a Nazarite. Something special about those Nazarites now, isn't there? Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, a man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told me his name. So she didn't go no further with that when he talked to her. She just kind of like, wow, that was pretty powerful what this man said to me, so I'm going to tell my husband. This is what her husband says, but he said unto me, behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death. Of course, Nazarite, I looked it up, it means separated of God. God is separating this son for his service. Now, we all know the story of Samson. Samson sometimes walked with the Lord, and then sometimes Samson went down into places where he shouldn't have been. And I challenge you to go on and read chapter 14. As I was telling Ramona, I said, in the beginning of chapter 14, every time you seen Samson, the Spirit of the Lord was with him or came upon him. And then as later on in the chapter, and on through Samson's life, when things happened, the Spirit of the Lord was not with him. Okay? Because he took a different turn in his life. He started doing things that he shouldn't have. Okay? Now that's agonizing for parents, isn't it? And for grandparents watching your grandkids do things like that. Not being with the Lord, not serving the Lord, or taking a turn for the worse. How many times have we seen children raised in churches their whole life? They get their degree or get their freedom, or they turn 18 and get out on their own, and what's the first thing they do? They head, as I call it, to the dark side. And we go, why? Why? I don't know. Maybe they're not truly saved. Maybe they never have really caught a glimpse of what Jesus done for us. They haven't been taught of what Jesus done for us. They haven't been trained at home properly. Now, how many of you heard the word discipleship? You know? How many people really get discipled on what they need to do for the Lord? A lot of times we get saved. I remember My dad getting saved in the 70s, 30-something years old, and like I said before, he got a big dose of it, and he went out for the Lord, and he started doing everything for the Lord. He wound up going into the prison ministry. That was his calling. But I remember, even though I was in church, and I went to church, and I sat in church, nobody really discipled me. They didn't tell me why you tithe. They didn't sit down and tell me why you serve the Lord, how you can be blessed, and what the Lord will do for you. Even though you sit in the church, sometimes as kids, we sit in the church and we hear these things and we go, and it goes in one ear and out the other, like me telling my boys to clean their rooms. The lips are moving and they're focusing on me, but it is not registering right up here. So, even as grandparents in here, and you have the opportunity to sit down with your grandkids and say, this is why you stay close to the Lord. Okay? Now we get back to Manoah. His wife has came to him. And then he says, behold, he said unto him, behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and thou drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death. We talked about what a Nazarite was, separated for God. Then Manoah entreated the Lord. That means he went back and prayed to the Lord and said, O Lord, let the man of God, which thou didst send, come up again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born. And Manoah entreated and said, Lord, let the man which thou didst come send again us teach us that we should do unto that should teach the child what shall be born. So he's asking, please come back and teach us what we should teach our son. And God hearkened unto the voice of Manoah, and the angel of the God came again unto the woman, and she sat in the field. But Manoah, her husband, was not with her again. He wasn't with her again. I don't know where he was. He's probably out working, doing something. He's coming to his wife, and he's reaffirming by Manoah, you're going to have a son. He's going to be a special son. You need to treat him well. You need to teach him right, and you need to set him apart. Now, think about that right there, talking about setting apart. Look what Manoah and his wife have been challenged to do. Not only set themselves apart, set their son's self apart, they have to live a totally different life, probably than what everybody else is living. Ain't that what we're supposed to do? People see a difference in us. We have to set ourselves as an example to the world. If there's no difference in us than the world, do they see anything better in us? No, they don't. Maybe some reasons why our children go and live the lives that they do, because they know the true us. Because they've lived with us. Right? I mean, every parent in here, every grandparent in here has done something and says, man, I wish I hadn't done that around them kids, or I wish I hadn't done that to my kids. Hey, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. And we try to do the best that we can do now, don't we? Try to do. And the woman made haste and ran and showed her husband and said unto him, behold, the man appeareth unto me that came unto me the other day. And Manoah arose and went after his wife and came to the man and said unto him, art thou the man that spakest unto the woman? And he said, I am. And Manoah said, now let the words come to pass. How shall we order the child? And how shall we do unto him? And I got so tickled when I read that verse. How shall we order the child? Maybe there was Amazon back then, you know. They're going to order this child up. And how shall we do unto him? But he's asking this angel, what do I need to do to separate this son that you're saying we're going to have? What do I need to do? And I look and I think how powerful that is as a parent. What do I need to do to separate my sons from this world? Most of the time, I catch myself pulling them towards the world, unfortunately. You know, there's so much stuff in this world to draw kids away from us and young people. You know, video games and computers and sports and this and that and the other, and it's so overpowering, and it gets harder and harder as they get older and older, and they're going out and experiencing more things, being involved with other kids and stuff, to keep them separated from the world. They got to live in this world, but their testimony has to separate them. And they have to understand that these people, these other kids or people around need to see a difference in me. In my talk, my language, how I present myself, how I act. You know, I see my boys, unfortunately, have picked up a lot of the clowning around tendencies that I have. And I've even had some of my dear friends go, man, they're exactly like you. And I go, oh, don't say that. You know, so, but they're 13 and 15, believe it or not. That's instilled in them already. It's instilled in them already. And I got some next verse series. I'm going to read these to you. This is the separation part. First, we're going to talk about the Nazarite, how they're separated. Number 6, King James Version, starting in verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when either a man or woman shall separate themselves to a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord. He shall separate himself from the wine and strong drink, and he shall drink no vinegar or wine or vinegar of strong drink. Neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk. Man, that's really narrowing it down there, isn't it? What this young man can eat. And mom and dad, because the Lord is telling them to separate themselves. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled, in the which he shall separate himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy, and he shall let the locks of his hair of his head grow. And we all realize that's part of his strength of his hair in Samson. All the days that he separated himself unto the Lord, he shall come at no dead body. He shall not make himself unclean for his father, or for his mother, for his brother, or his sister, when they die, because the consecration of his God is upon his head. And all the days of his separation he is holy unto the Lord. Wow. That is, as our Lord would say, a lot of pressure, isn't it? That's a high, high calling. But his parents, bless their hearts, was willing to do that. His parents were willing to do that. Think about that. Man, when I read that, I'm like, I don't know if I could walk that long. But they did. I can tell you right now, reading through this, you know, I've read through Judges several times. I missed this part about their parents, on how special his parents was. And some of you, well, all of you, you're in church all the time. You're special. You're walking the walk. Your kids are still watching you till the day you die. They're watching your testimony. They're watching what you're doing. They're taking in everything. And if you have a wayward son or daughter, or if you have a wayward son or grandson, keep up the testimony. Keep on coming. Keep on coming. Because we're called. We're called. I'm one of those wayward sons. I'm the one who hit the door of the church when I got out of school and I walked away. Thank the Lord, my parents stood firm. I was the worst of the worst because I was raised in church. I knew what to do. I knew where the voices were. I had parents who were just like Noah and his wife. And I still went, I don't want it. And I didn't serve the devil. But I would come home, and there was my dad and my mom serving the Lord constantly. Peace, joy, love. When you went in that home, it was like coming home, and I could finally get rest. They kept me coming back, and coming back. They kept drawing me until the Lord finally broke me, and I knew where to come back to. Hallelujah. And now, we're over the New Testament. I'm going to cover this. Separate ourselves. And I do my best to separate myself now. And I need to improve. Be ye not unequally yoked together with the unbeliever. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? And what concord hath Christ with Belial? And what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God, as God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Luke 6:22, King James. Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. That's why we need to separate ourselves and keep separating. I want to be blessed. I want my boys to be blessed. I want my grandkids to be blessed. So I'm going to keep separating. And hopefully, 50% chance one of my boys will be like me. They'll walk out of church, they'll hit that door, and they'll go their own way. And one of them will stay faithful. But that one that goes his own way, I want him to remember what I've done for the Lord. for your grandkids. Keep serving. The world will swallow you up, take you down roads you don't want to go, spit you out, and take you everything further. I know it. We're in verse 10. And the angel of the Lord said unto Noah, of all that I said unto the women, let her beware. Or to the woman, I'm sorry. She will not eat of anything that cometh of vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. And all that I commanded, let her observe. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee until we shall have made ready a kid for thee. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, if thou detain me, I will not eat of the bread, or I will not eat of the burnt offering that thou must offer unto the Lord. For Manoah knew that he was an angel of the Lord. He finally realized, hey, this is an angel. You know? And I sat there and I was reading about that. I said, well, sometimes us men, it takes a while for us, you know, to get on stuff. And Manoah said unto the angel, Lord, what is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor? And the angel of the Lord said unto him, why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is secret? This angel didn't want no glory coming to him. That's right, he didn't want to tell his name. He wanted all that glory to go to God. Because what would Manoah done if he knew that angel's name? He would have talked about the angel's name. He wanted to give that glory to the Lord. So Manoah took a kid with a meat offering and offered him on the rock unto the Lord. And the angel did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on. For it came to pass, when the flame went up toward heaven from out of the altar, the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar, and Manoah and his wife looked on it and fell on their faces to the ground. Now, just the thought of that, seeing the angel go into a fire and go up into heaven, well, I might have been hitting the trail. I'm like, man, that's too much for me, man. I'm out of here. But God has a way of using things. And these people, these precious parents, who were setting themselves apart, them and their son, they needed to see the power of the Lord, because it was going to not be easy to do what they was getting ready to do. It was going to be difficult. It's going to take a lot of prayer. It's going to take a lot of staying close to the Lord. And the woman bare a son and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. Now, I just want to stop right there. They blessed him because the Lord blessed him because of the sacrifice of his parents. See, right now, and I didn't get it when I was a kid, and probably your teenage kids don't get it, or your grandkids don't get it. Right now, they're living underneath our umbrella. They're living underneath our household, underneath our umbrella. And as you serve the Lord, it all flows down. If you're being blessed, your kids are being blessed. If you walk away from the Lord and things start happening, your kids start to struggle. But like I said, once you step out underneath that umbrella, and you get out from underneath mom and dad, well, guess what? They're on their own. They're making their own decisions. They're getting out of umbrella. That don't keep us from praying for the kids, for loving our kids, and for showing them the right way and staying close to the Lord. But when they step out, they're grown adults, and they head out on their own, they're on their own. They're making their own decisions. They're making everything about them their own decisions in their lives. And when they do that, it's not on you. Yeah, it hurts. But you try to do the best to raise them up. They walk away from church, it's tough, it's on them. Just keep loving and praying for them. And I did that. And I never ever once looked back at my parents and said, you didn't teach me well, you didn't do well, because they did. I had to take all ownership over that and say, this was on me, this was my mistake. I did this, it was on me. I didn't run from it. I said, I'm the one who destroyed my life for 10 years. just keep loving them and keep putting them in church and show them the right way. And any chance you get, you talk to them and say, you're not being blessed because you're not in church. And my dad had that conversation with me. I've been very fortunate. I've always had a reason. I've always had a job where I made really good money. And it seemed like every time I get money, it go right out of my pocket, right out of all my shoes, and right out every which way. And every time I get something, it always break it, always tear up. It just on and on and on. Finally, I looked at my dad one day. I said, Dad, I said, you hardly work now. You can't work now. You seem like you have so much. And I said, Dad, I said, it seems like I can't keep a nickel in my pocket. He looked at me and started laughing. You ain't serving the Lord. You're not serving the Lord. You tithe. You do anything for the Lord. You in church? No. He said, I don't want to hear it. You know the right thing to do. He called me out. He was right. But our children need to take their responsibility on this also. So never ever beat yourself up for your child's responsibility. We do that too much in our society. And I'm glad my dad called me out. And next, my final point is on verse number 25. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. This is talking about Samson. The Spirit of the Lord began to move on Samson.